Welcome to Curiosities of Teaching and Learning, a podcast hosted and produced by the Collaborative for Teaching and Learning, a change maker in education since 1994. Hello, and welcome to the 7th episode of Crushing COVID in the Virtual Classroom. We are talking to teachers from around the country as they are tackling this new reality of distance learning, thanks to COVID-19. Today, I am joined by a dynamic duo from Eastern Kentucky. They live in a small town, but they're doing very big things with their students. So my name is Jennifer Wright. I'm with the Collaborative for Teaching and Learning, and with me is Mandy and Missy. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming. I appreciate you all being here. I did want to say that I just love that this gives us a chance to get all dolled up, while we've been in our house, stuck in our houses for so long. It's fun to get a little dressed up. And also, I would like to point out your all's adorable backgrounds.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is a classroom outside of the school.
Yeah. That's right. I love that you have a classroom for your kiddos. So that's awesome. So I would like for you all to begin, if you don't mind, just with introducing yourself and telling us about your school and your students and whatever you'd like to share.
I'm Missy Wade, and I teach at McKee Elementary and in Kentucky. We're a school of about 300 students, 87% free and reduced lunch. We have K through 5. We also have preschool in our building, and our 2 through 5 are departmentalized. So we're in K through and K1 are self-contained. So that kind of gives you a little bit about our school. We had our principal's somewhat new. We've had him for around 3 years, and he's great. He's a great leader, and I've been teaching for 21 years at McKee. I've done a lot of different grades, but I'm in 3rd grade now, and I'm a reading teacher.
And you are both in 3rd grade, so your partner is Mandy.
We are. Yes, my name is Mandy Turner, and I also teach 3rd grade. I teach 3rd grade math and science, and mostly math. It's the only subject that counts. But that's okay. Missy and I this is my 16th year teaching, and Missy and I have taught together for all 16 of the years that I've been teaching. So that has been just the greatest blessing for me because we make an amazing team. This is our 7th year in 3rd grade. We taught 4th grade for 9 years together, which we feel gives us the advantage of being 3rd grade teachers because we know what we teach for our students to be prepared to be successful 4th graders.
Absolutely. It's always nice to have in mind where your kids are going, where they need to be when they leave your classroom. So that's wonderful. And yes, you all are, like I said, a dynamic duo. Your all's connection and the energy that you bring to each other is amazing, and it's powerful, and it's just so exciting. I will say, just for our audience's sake, is that you all created a Facebook group and you invited me to join that. And so I get to see everything that you all are doing and how you're interacting with your students on that. And I'll let you speak to that in a little bit more in depth in a few minutes. But it really is just amazing. You all do seem to work really well together as a team. So I'm glad that your administration lets you keep going together. That's awesome.
And we're also best friends outside of the workplace, so that helps.
It does. It's very helpful. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can you all, now that you find yourself in this distance learning, this virtual space of instruction, now that you're not in your school building, can you all kind of paint a picture for the audience about what that looks like for you all?
Well, one thing that we wanted was to, since it was such an uncertain time for students, we wanted to try to keep some kind of normalcy, something normal for them. So when we were planning what we were going to do, that was like our top priority, was just to try to keep things as normal as possible for them. And some of the parents were talking to us, and they were like, they're so scared, and it's like their whole world is turned upside down. So for us, it's the same way. We felt that way. So you can imagine what an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old is feeling, or even a 12-year-old. But so that was our main goal. So that's where we started, and we just kind of went from there. Mandy and I, we have kind of a different schedule. Our school, we're very fortunate because our principal allows us to make our own schedules, and it always works. So we get a lot of leeway with our schedules. So we only teach, there's only the 2 of us in 3rd grade. So we flip flop and have, our homerooms at the beginning of the day. So we do 30 minutes whole group. The rest of the day we're small group. So we kind of started from there and decided that, we wanted to use the Facebook outlet as a place where we could kind of do whole group instruction. And then our Google Classrooms would be more like our small group. So that's kind of where we started. That was our springboard. You want to add to that, Mandy?
We hadn't used Facebook throughout the year before. We obviously have Facebook personally, and there's a lot of our parents that will add us as friends, and we always do that, but it's never been like with a school aspect that we have give out information about school. I actually am the webmaster at McKee, so I've always ran the school Facebook page, but we had never even thought about making a 3rd grade group. We actually have utilized Class Dojo all year, and that was the way that we communicated with our parents. We really did. We probably had about 70% participation on our Class Dojo. But that's how we always gave out for parties and for tests and things like that. We hadn't really put out videos of instruction or shout outs for completion. So this has opened up a whole new outlet of that.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Can you tell the audience something that you were telling me yesterday when we spoke was how you connected with your parents and how you got your Facebook group to be so active? Because not everybody is easy to find, or maybe not everybody has a Facebook account.
Right. Well, we began with actually I was like, okay, I'm going to create this group and we'll just go through and I'll start adding all the parents that I do know, which we do live in a small community. Everybody knows everyone, but we were not connected with every parent on Facebook. So we just started adding people, and then we would just like send a private message. Hey, it's Miss Turner. We're making a Facebook group. We just wanted to add you to keep you up. And the parents loved it. Like we have grandparents. We have aunts and uncles that the kids aren't even living with that people are adding. We have it public, so people can see. And it's just been so enjoyable, and the kids just seeing us every day. That was what they needed, and I think the parents needed to see us every day too.
And we've had we had a couple parents talk to us after we started the videos, and they're like, it's like I can just see all the stress melt away when he watches your videos. And I thought that's exactly what we wanted it to be. We wanted it to be just like, obviously it's not just like, but we wanted it to be, at least similar to what we do every morning. And in my class, I start with circle time every morning. My whole group is in a circle, a literacy circle. And I start with announcements, and we talk about our day, and we talk about our schedule and anything that anybody wants to add. And that's kind of how I run my morning meetup video that I post every morning as well. So I usually, I'll have a screen and I'll put up their Google Classroom and run through what they're going to do for the day. And sometimes I'll do a little PowerPoint and teach what they're going to do for the day. But so just trying to make it normal, I think, was our goal.
Yeah.
I think
helpful for the parents too.
Exactly.
To our advantage is Missy and I are very high energy and animated anyway. So the kids, that is what they come to expect from us. So our videos that are over the top and exciting with the hands and the costumes and the props, that's what they're used to. That's what they see when we're inside of the classroom or if they're watching a video of us. So it's very genuine to them. That's what they know
It feels natural. It's not
It really,
different or new.
yeah.
And I'm sure that's how they connect with you all so easily. So tell me a little bit more about how you've established such a positive, fun learning environment in this Facebook group that you're using and in Class Dojo. I know you're kind of putting the same content in several different places, but tell me the kind of the things that you've done to encourage kids to be active and to continue working through this NTI work that you all have assigned.
So at the beginning, we were running pretty intense lessons, and through our Google Classroom. And like we were talking about before, we kind of were still in that mindset that we were coming back the first 10 lessons that we planned. So it was kind of like, okay, we teach with the Google Classroom every day. They're very used to it. No big deal. We're going to put our stuff on Google Classroom. We'll make these videos. And then it became, oh, well, we're going to be doing this a lot longer. So we realized that just like in the classroom, we were going to have to do something to kind of pep that up just a little, or we were going to have kids, checking out pretty quickly. So one of the things that we started with was on our dojo points, we let kids buy golden tickets, and so they save up their points, and a golden ticket is no work all day. So and there's certain days that we'll say, oh, you can use your golden ticket today. So we were talking and we're like, how could we incorporate a golden ticket? So that was, that's something. So we made golden tickets on Google Draw, and like our kids, we were going through all the lessons and we're like, all right, so we had a couple remedial days, which were catch-up days. And we're like, okay, all the kids that have everything caught up, we're going to surprise them with a golden ticket in their Google Classroom tomorrow. So that was a big hit. That was one thing that we've done to keep them encouraged. And I'm going to let Miss Turner.
Expecting that.
No,
They probably weren't expecting golden tickets.
No, they were not. And like a Fun Friday, we've tried to carry over just some of the things that we do normally in the classroom. If you have all your work done, today's Fun Friday, there's going to be no new assignment, and we want you, and it's not that we don't put things there, but it's fun things. It's more art activities, PE activities, things like that they can just have fun with. And then I'll let Ms. Turner talk about our virtual field trips, because that's been a big hit the last few weeks.
The last few weeks, we have been doing some virtual field trips because that's what they look forward to at the end of the year. It's field trip time. So we have been creating these field trips, and I've just been finding videos on YouTube, finding activities. Last week was an African safari, and we don't tell them what the field trip is. We give them clues each day, and last week they had to complete their work before they even got the clue. And each day I would give them a little clue, and then so on Friday, we had the safari, and we told them what it was Thursday night. We was like, okay, we give shout-outs each day to our kids that have completed all their work for the day, and we had the Jeeps were rolling out, and we had 3 Jeeps roll out on Friday, and then we had 1 on Sunday, and I don't think we told you this last night, but over the weekend, I had a student that messaged me, and she was like, I just got home from my grandpa's, and I finished up my work. Where do I go to get on the bus to get on the field trip? And I was like, honey, I can't go to TJ Maxx. We're not going to Africa. But I will load it in your Google Classroom. That's how excited they are. And she was just as excited about that. She was like, yes, okay. So this week we're doing Walt Disney World. And I released the clue today for Animal Kingdom. Yesterday was for Epcot. So they're completely thrown off right now. They're really confused as to where they're going. So I think Hollywood Studios tomorrow might be the clue that they get.
Oh yeah. Well, I was excited yesterday when I saw palm trees. I said, oh,
yes.
On this virtual field trip.
Yes.
I might have to join you. Well, and I love that you all recognize that your kids still need these fun activities. They still need these things to look forward to encourage them, a little sunshine in this gloominess of quarantine. And that a lot of your kids don't get opportunities to get outside of your community and go to see Walt Disney World or go on an African safari. So I know that as teachers, when we're in our classroom, we try to give those cultural experiences to our kids by taking them on field trips. A lot of the times that's our whole purpose, right? Is to let them see someplace else and learn about someplace else. So the fact that you're still doing that in this virtual space, I think is amazing.
It's been great.
It
Yeah.
really has, and it's not just the virtual field trip will not just be just a video of going to the place. Like last week, Miss Turner had she had all kinds of just different things with the African safari. There was probably 12 different
Oh
links
yeah,
that
we
they
had
could go
art
to.
lessons, like
Right.
a science experiment of making elephant toothpaste. We had it was like to do. We had animal yoga. It was all kinds of fun stuff.
So it's actually content related,
Yeah.
but yet it's just how you spin it.
Yeah, it's not them actually. Like we had an AR book with take the AR test. Like I had to read aloud of an African story each day on the Clue. I'll have an AR book with an AR quiz to take. I'll have throw in a math lesson. Like hey, today was swimming otters. Do the multiplication race till your otter wins first, and they're like, yes.
And like this week, I'm doing biography. So one of my biography for Thursday, which will be our last Clue, is Walt Disney. So, and my daughter created a PowerPoint for me for some service hours, and she put in a video. So we try to incorporate things that we're doing into that as well.
So you all are really doing such a great job of encouraging your students, motivating them to be working from home. I know that you all also have some flexibility when your students are when they're alternating between mom and dad's house, or if they're going to stay with grandparents through this, while their parents are working or what have you. And they may not have the same tools or access to internet when they're at this other location. And so how do you go about navigating that situation?
We try to be really flexible, and especially we usually know the parents are really good about telling us if they're at dad's this week or if they're at mom's this week. And we have one student that's how it, and we may say, hey, start at lesson 17. We don't want you to get bogged down with trying to catch up 10 lessons. I would rather you start here, and then you can go back and work on here and there, but let's get caught up to where we are. So we're very flexible in the classroom, so that's not extremely hard for us to make that transition because we're pretty flexible. Of course, we have very high expectations, and we want them to do the work, and we want them to do things, but we also understand that everybody's situation is different, especially in this time, because who knows? Everybody's just and I understand for parents, it's hard. We have parents that are still working. Some are in healthcare, and it's been very difficult for them. I know too. So we just try to be reasonable, I would say would be the word, and flexible and reasonable.
And we've been very, very lucky because when we began this, we were 50% working on packets and 50% working digitally. But as it continued and time went on and we really started building the Facebook page, we're at 95% participation on our Facebook group, and between Facebook and our dojo that we use both of those. And we've just really started encouraging them to try to get online. Let's try to, we are one-to-one with Chromebooks. So we checked out the Chromebooks. Like instead of coming and picking up packets, they would come check out a Chromebook. So that's been really great.
Did you find that most of your students already had internet access when you did that? So how did that work? Because I know you've mentioned to me that you currently only have, out of both of your classes, only 3 students that don't have internet access. So how did you make that happen?
Well, luckily, we have a very, very strong principal, and he's a great leader. And after the first packet pickup, and we had a ton of kids coming in, he was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm calling the phone company to get internet. So within 3 days, he had called the phone company, and the phone company was offering 2 months of free internet and free hookup for every person in the county that had a kid in our school system. So, and then for those that they couldn't get to because it was just like they had so many, they ended up setting up hotspots all over the county. All the schools are a hotspot, so you can go to the parking lot. And then there's also hotspots, like I know right up the street from me at the firehouse and places that have large parking lots. They set up hotspots across the county. So that's been really helpful too. So shout out to PRTC. that was a big, that was big for them to do. So community partnerships have been really important throughout this. And like I said, Mr. Truitt, he's pretty awesome, I will say.
Yeah.
He's been
that is wonderful, because I know that you all would not have as much success, you know, if you're with this online, if you did not have all your kids online. So,
and I'm going to be honest, we are 1-to-1 and we rely on that a lot, and that is our principal. He sacrificed a lot to make us 1-to-1, a 1-to-1 school, a lot of funds. And I have to say, when he first said we're going to check out Chromebooks, we were like, whoa, wait a minute, you're going to check out Chromebooks? Because we're so reliant on those in the classroom. But he said, you know, he was like, I would rather take the risk of maybe losing some Chromebooks or some getting broken and know that you can be connected. And then we're all like, yeah, I would rather. So we've now just every child that we talk to, we're like, yes, go get a Chromebook, go to school and get a Chromebook. We'll worry about it later. So that's been amazing.
It has, because the kids that aren't online, we make sure that we call. Like we're still staying connected with them on the phone, but it's just not the same as them watching us do those videos and we do Google Meets twice a week where we just interact with the kids and keep it fun, play games, and just let them talk and let us see each other. The first Google Meet that we did, they would just reach for the screen because it was like they was just so excited to see each other's faces.
That is so cute. That's a great way to build that community and to still be connected with each other. So that's awesome. How I think you've offered, from what I've seen in your Facebook page, you've offered Google Meets at different times. So can you tell me a little bit about how you're doing that?
We started out doing, first we started with Facebook Live, and then we added in Google Meets. And so we would have a Facebook Live like on Monday nights at 7, and then we started doing Google Meets at one time on Thursdays at 1 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock. And we realized that the kids just love the Google Meet so much that we've just kind of filtered out the Facebook Live. And now we're just, we just try to have at least one in the afternoon and one in the evening, depending on, and we have kids that come to both. And we have kids that come to one or the other. Like we have one little girl, she stays with her grandma during the day, and that's the only place that she has that access. So she always comes to the 1 o'clock. But, and then we have some kids that like I said, their parents are still working, so they hit the 7 o'clock. And then we have some that are home all day, and they just are like, yeah, I'm coming to both.
Yeah, I'm doing both.
Like, you can come to any. And then we also use that Google Meet as like a tutoring tool, because sometimes we'll have office hours and we'll just say, hey, we're going to be in this Google Meet from 1 to 2. If you have any trouble, pop in, ask us, parents or kids. You can pop in, ask us a question, whatever you need. Just like, we're always by the computer. They can message us anytime, but sometimes, you just need that face-to-face if you just need to feel some comfort.
Yeah. And like yesterday, I had 2 guys on Google Classroom that were doing comments back and forth, talking about lessons, things. And I just hop on and like, hey, let's go over to Google Meet, and gave them the code, and there I sat, and there they was, and I was just talking to them, and I even had a grandma pop in and was like, is he in trouble? I'm like, no, we're just.
So what was the purpose of that pull out and going to a Google Meet from the classroom? What was your purpose in that?
They were continually talking about this assignment, and it was like 100 comments down on because I have the comments open because they love to interact, and like my phone's blowing up, and if somebody else actually had a question, I wouldn't know because they're just having this sidebar conversation, and I'm like, hey, let's come over here, let's talk. And then I actually like talked them through about how to get onto Google Hangouts, and they could create like a message board with that. So it was a whole nother. So in the Google Meet, they were teaching like 4 other kids. We're going to go to Hangout, and this is our code. I'm going to invite you.
That's awesome.
And I just think we've just made ourselves very available, which I'm more available than I've ever been in my whole career as a teacher. And a lot of the things that we're using, I will carry over just because it's made it. I mean, I had a parent the other night that messaged me, and she's like, "Hey, do you care if we video call you on Messenger? We're having trouble. I don't understand how to tell him to do this." And I'm like, "Sure." So we're video messaging. Like, it's just, pretty much we're available in any way that they want us to be available.
Yeah.
You're like a doctor on call. You're like,
it is. It really is. Like, people will say, well, how long are you working? And I'm like, oh, I'm working like 13 plus hours a day. Like, it's just, we laugh. We say we have kids that work all 3 shifts. We have our first shift kids that are up early getting it done. Then we have second shift rolls in. And then we have third shift that they may be messaging us in the bed. And then when we get up, we'll start trying to answer. But as long as I'm not in the bed, then I'll talk to them.
That's awesome.
That's how I missed one the other night. It was like I got an email at 11:15. I noticed it when I got up the next morning, and it was, "Help, Miss Wade, help. I don't know how to do this." And I'm like, so I was up at 4. I'm like, well, let me message you back at 4. I'm sure we'll see it eventually.
I mean, I think flexibility and communication have been 2 of the key factors with this, because not everyone now is at school and learning at the same time. We're having to deal with so many different people's unique schedules and how everyone is getting through this and navigating this in their day-to-day lives. So it's important that you all are doing that. So I'm sure your students and their families really appreciate it. Tell me a little bit about what your instruction, when you're teaching or engaging your students into content, what that looks like and what types of platforms you're using for that.
So for me, I pretty much stuck with, like I said, we were 1-to-1, so we use a lot of technology. We use Google Classroom every single day. So there's a lot of things that we were already using, which helped I would say that our kids definitely had an advantage in that, because they were already very familiar with a lot of the things that we're already doing. So that carried over really well, but it streamlined kind of to this very easily. For me, I planned my lessons in units. So each week was another unit, and pretty much not really new content, but I would say integrating content that we've learned throughout the year, just with different concepts. So, for instance, character traits. So some of the things that, like the first week we did with character traits. So these would be things I would do in the classroom as well. So a Kahoot, for instance, I assigned a Kahoot, so a lot of times I'll do the instruction on my video in the mornings, or I'll put up a PowerPoint into their Google Classroom, or a video in their Google Classroom where that they're seeing, some instruction about whatever the concept is, or review. And then usually they have some kind of formative or summative assessment. It just depends. I use Padlet. I use Padlet in the classroom. So I've been doing my reader response. One thing that I did when we were doing character traits was I was doing read alouds every day. And so I would just throw up a Padlet and throw up a reader response question, and then we would talk about it at the Facebook Live or at a Google Meet. I would just open up the Padlet and say, all right. And it gave us a lot to talk about. So like one assignment we did, choose your favorite character, give me 5 character traits. And then we compared and contrasted that. And then it was like, this person liked this one, this person liked that one. So just pretty much the way I would teach in my classroom, just, I guess, just a little different.
Same, but different.
The worst is, like we were talking, that the worst is cues, because like when you're doing videos and things, it's like you're waiting for that cue. You have that cue, that pause that you're like, that they answer you, and you're like, oh wait, they're not going to answer me. So
I know Mandy was saying that she keeps asking questions and there's nobody there to answer.
Yeah, I'm having to answer my own questions. Yes.
Yeah. But you can add to that, Mandy.
Well, like where I'm content based, we rely heavily on our word walls, and we have lots of that vocabulary, that content rich vocabulary that we go to, and we use those word walls, and we use Simple Solutions in the classroom. And Simple Solutions offered me the online platform to use with the kids, so that's been fabulous. And I every day will, just like I would in the classroom, like I'll have them do it, and then I will completely teach the whole thing like I would do in small group. So every morning I get up and I do our Simple Solutions lesson. I do the lesson B, they do A, so it's completely similar. I'm circling those vocabulary words, talking about it, trying to get them to keep that in their mind, fresh in their mind. I started out teaching in units in math, and they were getting really bogged down with it. So I was like, okay, and we were lucky. Like I had taught all of our content. I wouldn't say everything was to mastery because we were reaching that end of year where we was really doing a lot of review. But we're trying. I'm trying to keep this as normal as I can. My kids are in 4th grade, so I am in contact with the 4th grade math teacher, and I'm telling her all the time, I'm trying.
Well, so
I
organize all
reading.
this.
It's a little easier than in units and reading, I think, than in math.
Yeah.
To kind of keep that going. But it's really kind of like what we do in the room. I mean, but being, like I said, being one-to-one, that was an advantage.
And our district did utilize the NTI before. At the elementary level, we really didn't do digital though. Like we really had them working on the packets. So that was a transition for our kids. But at least the parents and families did understand that when we call an NTI day, work is expected to be done. So I think that was an advantage for us when we first went in. We've sent out lessons in 3 chunks. So the first chunk was 10 days. We hope we're coming back. So that planning was very intense. Then the second round was 20 days. And that's when we went, this is going to be something totally different. So that's when I started grabbing my Simple Solution books. I started grabbing my whiteboards. I was grabbing manipulatives because I was like, I'm going to have to teach online. I'm not going to be able to say, watch Brain Pop video today, which is what I would leave in my Google Classroom for them to do. But I was there to do that small group with them.
Right. It's not a complete replacement. It's just a supplemental activity.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about digital, like for most of ours being online, is then like just like at school, if you see them struggling with something, if I see that they struggled with something the day before, my video the next day, I can say, hey guys, I saw this. This is, this is what you need to do. And I see there's some confusion. So just like you would in the classroom.
Which it's so helpful that you all are doing that morning video every single day so that you can address those things and it's not 10 days later. Oh yeah, remember a couple weeks ago when you were working on this? That's a lot harder to go in there and correct or work on with students. So.
Yeah.
And we are constantly sending private messages to the kids in Google Classroom too, like, I'll reset something if I see someone just got in and didn't do their best, just like I would hand it back in the classroom. I'll send a message back and be like, listen, I reset this. I need you to redo that. And that was not your best work. I need you to make sure you give your best effort. I love you. And, give the little pep talk, just like I do in class, but I'm sending them a message. I have picked up the phone and called as well. Like if I say, I'm like, can I please speak to?
and that's been a huge transition for us, is because we have expectations in our classroom, and we'll have a list of the work that has to be completed today. We've got a lot going on, guys. This is what you're going to do. We're going to be doing small group. And then it got done. And about 9 days in, I'm calling Missy going, why are they not doing their work? Like, what is going on? Why are they not doing their work? And that's when we really realized that it was like, okay, they're going to have to look at us and see us, and we're going to have to talk to them. And that's really when the Google Meets came in big. Well, today I had posted a video on our Facebook page, and one of our kids had wrote a comment, and I just came right underneath and I was like, hey, I need you to go to Google Classroom because you've not been in there in 7 days. If you're on Facebook, you can go to Google Classroom. I was like, okay.
I think too, just we've developed such a rapport with our parents that maybe we didn't have before. It's not that we didn't have, it just, you know, you're not that in contact all the time, but we find that, you know, now I have parents messaging me all the time. Are they done with their work? Like, they're telling me they're done. Are they done? And
yeah.
And things that parents would have never done, you know, before. So I find that we've really developed some strong relationships, not only with the kids, but with the parents too.
And something great is, you know, this is a difficult time. We're both moms too. Like, I have twins in 4th grade. So I'm a 3rd grade teacher, and I'm a 4th grade homeschool. I was like, I was your teacher last year. I never thought I was going to be your teacher again, you know, so here I am. Hello, surprise. But we understand that it is challenging for parents. I mean, it is. And so I think that, like, the relationships we've built with our parents has been so great. I see on social media the parents that are just stressed and are upset and are just unsure of what they're doing. But I see, when I see our parents pop in and they're like, oh no, we're good. And I'm like, yes, you know, because they know that we're here. That's our biggest goal, is to just let them all know that we're here.
And one way that I've seen that you've done that is that you are so active. And like you said last night when we were talking, it's not just one post a day or one post a week. You're on there constantly reminding them, hey, we're here. This is what needs to be done. Or, you know, don't forget about our Google Meet, that you're constantly reminding them to be present and that you're present.
Yeah.
And they all have our cell phone number. I mean, that's never, I mean, it's like all our parents have our cell phone number. It's just, like I said, it's just a way. We just wanted them to feel like they weren't disconnected. And that pushed us out of our comfort zone a little bit to allow them to be so connected to us, because, like, we are working a lot.
Yeah.
But I would much rather them be able to be that connected to me than to be disconnected from me.
Yeah. Well, and I know you all mentioned too how your students are not just connected to Miss Wade or Miss Turner, but they're connected to everybody in the building. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I'm going to say our motto at McKee: teamwork makes the dream work. And we work as a team in the building. So it's nothing to come into one of our classrooms and see the PE teacher teaching a math lesson in small group, or the librarian. I have the librarian and her assistant 2 days a week teaching a small group in my classroom. So Mr. Truitt, he's pretty much, if you have a break, there's a possibility that you may be going and helping somebody that needs help. And everybody's kind of bought into that in our school setting. So it wasn't a big leap for everybody to buy into that in this setting. So, I mean, the PE teacher popped in the other day at our Google Meet. Mr. Truitt pops in our Google Meet.
Yeah,
we had the librarian, teacher, our collaboration teachers, our collaboration special ed teachers, they come to everything that we do. They make phone calls just like us. The kids all, not just the kids that they see, they work with all our kids. So
they're collaborators in our Google Classroom.
Right.
Like, I broke a tooth one morning and was like on Facebook, guys, I'm so sorry, I broke a tooth. And while I'm in the dentist chair, like, my phone's dinging, and I see that one of our collaborating teachers is in there. Oh, Miss Turner's at the dentist, remember? What can I help you with? And, like, he was walking him through the math lesson. And, like, that, it's just great. That makes it really great.
We have a family culture in our school, so the kids are very comfortable with all the adults in our school.
Yes.
So I think just, that's another thing that's been very comforting for them, is to know that they have a lot of people vested in them. Not just Miss Turner and I are invested, but a lot of people are invested in their learning and invested in loving them and caring for them. And we truly are a team. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but
But I've been in your school building, and I can speak to that myself as a visitor that comes in from the outside. I can see that because everybody does know each other. Everybody's helping each other. It is an all hands on deck kind of place. And you just, when you're a visitor in a school building, you can immediately feel the culture of that building. And when I do go into McKee Elementary, it's amazing because I do feel that. And I've been part of that family since I've been coming there. So it's really evident.
Last night I made a slideshow for our McKee page. All the entire staff, instructional aides, our teachers, janitors, cooks, everyone took a picture, a selfie with "I'm proud of you," "Good job, Bulldog family." And when I woke up this morning, we have 300 kids in our building. It had 2,400 views this morning when I posted it about 9:30 last night. And by 5 a.m., it had 2,400 views. That's the second one we've done. And the kids are the parents are saying, "Oh, thank you for posting that. That really made their day. That just gives them the extra pep." So
that's so touching.
I think, when our kids come in the building in the morning, I don't just make it a point to hug my kids, my third grade kids. We hug, we're out there hugging every kid. And our janitors know our kids' names, our cooks know the kids' names, and it's been the same digitally. We just, Mr. Truitt's really encouraged, go jump in this Google Meet. And Ms. Turner made a list for our Facebook page of when everyone's Google Meet is, the different classes. So it's okay, fifth grade's getting ready to do a digital graduation. So we're all getting ready to send pictures and do videos for them to put into that. So just, trying to keep that family culture alive within this digital world has been challenging, but I think we were fortunate because we had that culture already. So that made it a little easier to keep it up.
So tell me a little bit more about because you all are doing so many things, the two of you together. I mean, planning these virtual field trips and on top of the assignments and the way that you're encouraging all of your students to work. So what does it look like behind the scenes for you all about, how are you planning together? How are you all collaborating as a team?
Well, we talk a lot. Miss Turner and I, it's not abnormal for us to jump in a Google Meet ourselves. We were in there making class lists for next year the other day. I mean, but we are in constant communication, either through text or talking, and what about this? What about that? You think this would be a good idea? So it's just, or I made one of these. I made a ticket. I made a virtual field trip. So we're just kind of just as it comes across our mind, we call each other and we, run it off the others.
Sometime within that 13-hour day.
Yeah, and we'll even, there'll be a lot of times that I'm like, okay, has this student, they've completed all my math, but I'm noticing that they haven't been on reading. So I'm going to call and say, "Hey, great job. I'm so glad you did your math. Miss Wade would love it if you would hop over to reading," or vice versa. Because we made ourselves collaborators in each other's classrooms, the reading and the math also. So I'm seeing who's finishing reading. I'm seeing who's finishing math. And I think that's been helpful too.
Yeah.
And we're constantly talking about that. And we're like, "Oh, this kid always gets done for me. And this kid never gets done for me." And then we're like, "Well, what are you doing? Why, what do you think? What are you doing that they want to?" And we just try, we also, which we do this in school too, but we try to make our classrooms the same. We do things the same. So it's very streamlined as far as across the way, even though it's a math classroom or a reading classroom what they're seeing is very similar. And she and I, we say we share a brain. We've been together a long time, and we can usually kind of read each other, and it helps. That helps a lot.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, 16 years is a long time.
It is. It is a long time.
We kind of, we play off each other well, I think.
We do.
Yeah. Well, I know that this virtual reality has kind of pushed you out of your comfort zone just a bit this year, and you all have learned a lot of things. And I know you've mentioned a little bit about as you move forward into next year and as you look ahead, some things that you might want to carry with you. One of the things was videotaping yourself more to really connect with your parents more. Can you touch on that a little bit more about some things that you really want to make sure that you carry with you into next year?
You want to take this one?
Yeah,
Mandy?
sure. We've been talking about that. Next year, we're definitely going to make a homework Google Classroom for our digital learners, because our second graders coming into third, they're doing all of this online platform now through all of these NTI days. So their families and them, they're doing the Google Meets, and we were like, oh, this will be great. We can put our spelling words, we'll put our weekly multiplication facts, we can put games, we can put the work on there. I teach 16 topics, and I was like, this will be an excellent way that I can make a video before the study guide, and I'll open up a Google Meet before my test. And that way, if parents, because we all know how everybody feels about Common Core math, and that way that maybe I can get on there and show them the different ways that we can add or subtract.
That would save a lot of parents' frustration.
Yes,
I can only imagine.
yes.
And I mean, Google Meets was another thing I think is awesome that I'll keep using, because you have those parents that can't come to open house, or you have those parents that just need maybe once a month, hey, tell me what's going on. And I mean, before I would have never thought about that, but now I really think at least once a month I'll do a parent Google Meet, and just to have that meetup. And even with the tool, it's a great homework helper. I mean, it really has, in the Facebook page for sure. I know we're going to keep going with that. And, I had done some videos of read alouds and things for my Google Classroom, but I think now I'll use it even more as a just tutoring, or just to give a little extra boost, or if they need. So there's a lot of good things that's come from it. I mean, it has been very stressful. I'm not going to lie. It has been stressful.
It's exhausting.
That most teachers would probably agree. It has been stressful, and we're pretty techie, and it's still been stressful. Mm-hmm. But I think there has been a lot of good things that have come from that. I can walk away and say, yeah, that was something that was worthwhile.
Yeah, and I feel like that I'm going to be a better teacher after this. Mm-hmm. And that's a positive in a scary time. So
yeah, there's always a silver lining, right? Always.
Yes.
So, well, thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate you all sharing all the wonderful things that you're doing with your students. And I just love that your students have been so engaged, and it's such a fun learning environment that I think all kids would be blessed to be a part of your classroom. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for asking us.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, well, good. Well, it was my pleasure to have you all. So thank you again for joining us for this episode of Crushing COVID in the Classroom. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.